Hello guys, it's me Stark and I'm here today to talk about one of players' favorite civilization, the Britons. If you do play Age of Empires since the ancient times, you know that the Britons are known for. They're archers. They're pretty good, but there are also other stuff here that we can discuss about the civilization. Let's start about their economical bonus. It's a very simple one, but you can actually use it in many situations. Actually, you can actually use, and you are going to use it in every game, which is basically their shepherds that do work 25% faster. So the Britons do eat sheep faster, and that's great because it actually boosts the amount of food that you have available for yourself. For that reason, Britons are quite popular and can do a very good start here by using many of their ships as fast as possible and messing up a lot of villagers that they can later use however they want to. So this is the Briton bonus. Their other bonus there is just going to be applied during the castle age, which is basically town centers being a bit cheaper. As you can see, Britons are one of the most unique civilizations, but they do not have way too many bonuses here. Their bonuses are quite straightforward and easy to understand. Their foot archers will actually gain extra range during castle and imperial age, so this is very helpful because when you are playing with the Britons, you can even still play against your counter units such as skirmishers and such as the knights by leveraging over the range, leveraging over the distance. Regarding their unique unit, they do have the longbowman, which is an extra attack archer here that can get up to 12 range when it's on its elite version and with all the upgrades like EO Man. But we are going to discuss about this later on. Let's talk about the Briton early game. Briton are an archer civilization, so the best strategy for them, obviously, is to play archers. So they are quite popular on team games, especially when in maps like Arabia, where the double range archer gameplay is one of the most valid strategies. But for 1v1, you can still play archers with the Britons, basically going towards the feudal age. You can go for a regular build like with the mill, or you can already go for a mining camp as a second build upgrade and then start to produce archers. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. And what are the leverages of the civilization? Well, it's pretty basically once you are in the next age with the Britons, you are also, if you still have some sheep under your TC, you can just boost your food economy with the minimum amount of villagers to allow yourself to produce archers faster. When you are playing with your Britons, all the archer ranges for you and also for your teammates do work 10% faster. Therefore, this also helps to explain why they are so popular on team games. If you're playing like a 4v4 Arabia, there will be probably like 4 archer ranges for your team around -10, 2 from one flank, 2 from the other. So the Briton not only is a great civ to play with the distance, but also to outmass their opponents on the archer count and also give the same bonus to his allies. So a wide variety of bonuses that actually has great synergy when all combined. With that said, what you want to play with the Britons is the archers, and I think that one of the best ages here for the Briton is not the feudal age, but instead the early castle age. When you play archers during the feudal age, you are basically skipping most of you're basically saving up food. You are not using food with scouts, you're not using food with skirmishers. For this reason, you can even catch up against enemies that are trying to play fast castle and get a faster uptime to the castle age. So that's basically one of the biggest things about the Briton. On this game, for example, as you can see, Hira is trying to reach castle age with only 32 villagers after using here a watchtower to defend himself from potential enemy threats there. With that said, let's talk about the best army composition that a Briton player can make during the Castle Age. It's going to be quite simple, but also quite scary and quite effective. And we're basically talking about archers plus mangonel. And why is this that good for the Britons, and what is so special about this kind of army composition versus other civilizations? Well, the Briton, as you guys know, are going to scale well regarding their range. So right here, British crosswoman, once receiving all the upgrades like fletching and bodkin arrow, and also the crosswoman upgrade, will actually have 8 range. So right now you can basically outrange any other archer of the game during the castle age, and even the enemy skirmishers are going to suffer a bit. If your opponent has an upgraded elite skirmisher, he won't have enough armor to deal with your archers, and you can basically win with numbers. But if your opponent does have elite skirmisher, you can still try to fight him from the distance or avoid the confrontation until you have your own mangonels. Also, to counter British archers with mangonels is a lot difficult because, as I said, the Briton can just work with his range in order to achieve in order to avoid the confrontations against the enemy mangonels by hitting them and getting out of their range before it's actually a problem. So this is how annoying it is to play against a Briton. Another thing that you can actually do, and that has also great synergy with the archer plus mangonel play, is adding extra town centers. As the Britons, your town centers are 50% cheaper on the wood, so it's basically a matter of adding new town centers, and with your feudal age farming economy, you're probably going to be able to keep those town centers working quite well. So that's basically it. If your opponent tries to outmass you with skirmishers, you use mangonels. If he tries to use mangonels, your own mangonels can trade against him, obviously, but you also can help with your archers that can shoot the mangonel before getting into their range, making them very oppressive. With this oppressive archer from the Britons combined with their economy, you just have the perfect Briton gameplay. That's exactly how you want to exploit this civilization. Multiple town centers, a minimum amount of villagers on foot can keep these TCs all working, while you just keep harassing your opponent with the use of both archer and mangonel. This eventually is going to lead to a big leverage, and you can actually use that to play on either defensive way or aggressive, depending on the scenario. If you're playing aggressive as the Briton, this is actually pretty bad for your opponent, because basically you can just snowball this comp into the GG, which seems to be what's going to happen here on this very game that was played here, guys, on the finals of Ling Yuan Cup. So what you were watching here is not even a random ranked ladder game, but rather the grand finals of a tournament. And as you can see, Britons are still quite powerful and can be pretty decent even on this situation. Of course, with the archers, you can keep playing in a very oppressive way and punishing enemy units, enemy villagers, enemy farms, and just keep scale pretty well. That's basically the core of the Briton game, but let's also talk about some of the things that they can actually do on the later stages of the game, like the Imperial Age. So far, I think that you guys already got an idea on how you actually want to be playing with this civilization. A big pack of archers, and also mangonels constantly attacking and harassing the enemy. Very difficult and very annoying to play against that, because even if your mangonels fail to kill the enemy mangonels, you still have your archers to try and snipe it down or to give like the final blow to the enemy mangos. They can already weaken down the enemy mangos when they are approaching you, and they can even snipe some of them without ever getting hit. Honestly, I hate to play against that. It's very, very annoying. A civilization that can mass archers quite well during the feudal age and then deal all this kind of damage to you during the later stages of the game is way annoying to deal with. If Britons are not so popular in 1v1 because of how predictable they are exceptionally good on team games, because that's exactly what you need when you play into a team. Civilizations that are going to be to specialize into into a specific kind of gameplay. The most popular and the strongest use of the Britons in the game is playing team games with a fellow teammate that will play cavalry. For example, playing for some classical composition like Britons and Franks or Britons and Magyars, like in this game, actually deliver great results. And how is this game going? The best build order that you can use for the Briton is to go with a minimum amount of villagers on the wood, like 2, go revving to the food, and click to the feudal age with your second build, bang a mining camp. While doing that, you are still going to provide enough food for your economy, because you do have the ship bonus. So not only you have a good early Dark Age, but you can also keep your economy flowing with less villagers dedicated to the food. Because of this, you can actually dedicate more villagers to the wood and then drop not only the barracks but double range. The double range is not recommended for 1v1 because you might get like heavily countered by one range skirmishers with armor, but if you are playing a team game, you are going to have a teammate constantly making cavalry, and for that reason, the Britons can be quite powerful on this setting. What is the biggest thing about the Britons? Well, during the Feudal Age, they have already scaled pretty well during the Dark Age, since they have the good eco bonus, and now, during the Feudal Age, it's basically a matter of production. Britons ranges do work 10% faster, so with double range and multiple villagers on gold, you can just keep up a huge archer production and use that to pressure on all your enemies. Of course, one thing that you want to do here as the Briton is to go for the fletching so that you have extra attack power for your archers, and if necessary, you also need to keep safe 2 resources here, both wood and gold. Using towers and walls here is recommended because archers are still a slow army, so if you play with the Britons, you do not want to be going down or chasing down scouts. What you actually want to do here is to wall yourself so that you can dedicate and focus on the archers. So an unwalled Briton is a sitting duck, but an archer civ, or a Briton specifically, once it gets its walls done, he will be able to dedicate all of his attention to the army. And archers are a very fragile army. If you miss one fight, if you miss one spot, you might get ambushed by faster armies or stronger armies, such as the cav archers, such as the knights, so you need to keep an eye here on your archers during all the time. Walling yourself is one of the biggest things about the Britons, and of course massing archers non-stop. But the thing here about the Britons is not just the numbers, but rather the extra range that they are actually going to receive during the Castle Age. This actually makes all the difference, and is what actually makes the civilization so powerful. The combination of massable archers, which is easy to group in bigger numbers, together with the extra range. During the Feudal Age, defending even from 2v1s is not something impossible. It's just a matter of adding more and more buildings while you just defend from behind the walls. You do not need to directly fight against your opponent, you can just defend from behind. And honestly, defending as the Briton becomes more and more powerful as the game goes by, because you are always going to have extra range. Different from team games, from 1v1s, on team games you can just focus 100% on archers, and whenever you need, you can actually play together with your ally in order to deal with different threats there. With that said, Britain are one of the players' most favorite civilization here, losing perhaps only to the Ethiopians or maybe Mayans or Shu because of their other economical bonuses. But archer-wise, the Briton archer with their range is pretty insane. My advice for the Briton economy: try to invest heavy into the farming after you deal your initial archer range setup with like 7 to 8 villagers on gold, constantly producing archers. Once you do that, you are actually going to be able to mass enough food here to click towards the Castle Age and then play with the crossbowman line. Avoid any fights before you have crossbow, just wait, because your civilization is actually going to scale pretty well. So it's just a matter of patience for the Briton player to actually achieve the full potential of his civilization. Musts for the civilization are the gold up on the way to the Castle Age, and also horse collar can be done later. It's not the biggest priority. If you had to prioritize something, prioritize always the wood and the gold as the Briton, leaving the farms for later. But of course, if you can also afford making horse collar on the way to the Castle Age, it's even better. Once in Castle Age, everything is going to change, because the Briton will basically control the pace of the game. Upon having your archers fully upgraded, and honestly prioritize getting crossbowmen, Bodkin arrow, and later getting ballistics, you are actually going to outrange your opponent. While the enemy archers are going to have a maximum of 7 range, the Briton will actually have 8, which means that whenever the enemy wants to approach you, he's actually going to sacrifice some units or even try to dodge your extra ranged archers, and the Briton can just keep and working with the distance. Having longer range is the key from the Briton archers together with their numbers. So massed archers with extra range is the key or the core strength from the civilization, and if you are in a scenario where you don't even need to add mangonel to support your own army, where your allies are actually supporting them, you can basically go all in archers. For example, on this game you can see BL playing with 4 rangers as the Briton, which means that he will slowly increase his numbers, making it very difficult to approach the Briton that ball. If you want a tip, always keep all of your archers together. Splitting into multiple groups is actually better for cavalry because you do have the mobility and you can actually get some raids done. Doing that for the Briton is quite bad. If the enemies try to fight the Briton, it's just a matter of retreating and picking up enemy units one by one by using your extra range until you are in a comfortable position, for example a big hill, where you can actually use all the strength from your civilization to force the enemies into bad fights. So advancing against a Briton has a cost, and these costs are corpses, and as game goes you just want to keep increasing this advantage as the Briton. So yes, all in archers during feudal age and also during castle age is a very and a super valid strategy for the civilization. If there's one thing that you should actually be concerned is the fact that the Britons do not have access to Thumb Ring. So despite having an extra range, they do not have this 15% faster attacking and not 100% accuracy. So for this reason, some enemy archers like the Italian, Bohemian, or even the Ethiopian ones get way too close from you, they can actually even kill your archers in the 1v1. What do you do to avoid that? Basically, keep the heals, do your own game, and focus on leveraging over the strengths of your civilization. On this game, BL is going for a hard bet. He's actually going towards Imperial Age because basically once in Imperial Age, he will have extra range to deal with. Not only he gains 1 range during the castle, but he's actually going to gain 1 more during the Imperial Age, allowing his arbalest to reach a total of 10 range. Damn, that was... The blue guy should have jumped on him, huh? That happens. Controlling the distance, fleeing away if you feel like you are in a disadvantage, and always keeping all of your archers together. Some of the key stuff here for the Briton to play. By the way, not necessarily you need to keep playing with a single TC. Remember that the Briton town centers are cheaper, so you might actually add some TCs even if you are planning to go for lower villager economy and faster up times. Or if you want to, go for a huge go just for the huge economy as well, and you'll probably provide good results as well. Let's take a look on the Briton Arbalest once they are fully upgraded. There we go. A regular Briton Arbalest actually has 10 range. With 10 range, you actually have 3 more than any Castle Age unit and 2 more than the enemy ranged units, like, for example, the Arbalests. Thanks to that, you can just start delivering damage from a long distance, and if your opponent doesn't micro, he is going to lose units. Britons are very oppressive, but they do have this issue with the mobility. They have to constantly keep their archers together and always walk together with their ally, not to get ambushed as an archer civilization. Of course, having extra range helps, but one thing that actually has a great synergy for this kind of archer play is to place castles on hills or creating safe places to run to. Your base is always a safe place to run to. You do have obstacles, you do have towers, you do have town centers, so it's more difficult for your opponent to engage you there. But if you're fighting on the open field, the enemy might jump you at any time. So how do the Briton deal with that? Basically by dropping forward castles or castles in big hills. Keep the distance, kill your enemy archers if he tries to approach, and tries to climb and control the hill. That's probably one of the key aspects here of the Briton gameplay. Very difficult to deal with, and if you just keep your army together and not losing, you are just going to get to a critical mass where it's going to be impossible for your opponents to properly engage. On this game, as you can see, the British player is only now investing to a third DC, still focusing all into the Arbalest, and he already has up to 90 military units. we're talking about almost 100 archers available there, and it's very difficult to even get closer to those archers to even plan any kind of game. So it's very annoying to fight against this, and this is exactly how the Britons should be playing. I think that it cannot get better from that. If you want to talk about support units for the Briton, if you are going to add a secondary unit, and honestly I will actually recommend that for 1v1, not for 2v2, you actually want to add either halberdier or light cavalry according to the situation to be your trash unit. If the Briton gets ambushed by the opponent, all he has to do is to keep firing and running towards his castle, his bastion. If there is no castle, then Briton is a sitting duck. But if there is any castle that the Briton can run to, basically just run to it. That's exactly what you want to do. Under your castles you are safe, and you can just keep abusing from your range to keep harassing your opponents forever and ever. We didn't mention, but the Britons also have other weapons. For example, they do have the unique upgrade called Yeoman that actually adds 1 extra range to their archer line and also 2 extra attack to the tower line. So if you want to improve your skirmisher, archers and towers, go for Yeoman. If you want to besiege your opponent and win the siege wars, go for War Wolf, which will actually allow your trebuchets to deal less damage. This means that the trebuchets can actually shoot in a big group of skirmishers and take down several of them at once. So this is one of the most powerful technologies and makes all the difference. If you are playing a 1v1 or if you are playing a game where you can actually boom and not focus 100% on archers, it's always worth going for those upgrades. And that's basically how the Briton player wants to be dealing with any situation on the game. Unless your opponent has something very strong such as Hurskal or Paladins, it's just a walk in the park for the Britons and their massed archers. Exactly how you want to be playing as the Briton player.